imagine that if you got inducted, and they would take me to your leader, who would you go to? Obama? Would you bring him to Pastor Matt?
Jesus.
Would you bring him to your dad or your mom?
Jesus.
Would you take him to like,
Friend.
a friend? You know,
Take him to Jesus.
Take him to Jesus. Who would be your leader? Or
Yes.
let's say that you just got totally abducted and no one knew where you were at, and like you found external evidence of your life. Like you know how they dig up bones, they dig up stuff, and they found people's life. That's how we've learned about history. Say they did that with you. What would they say? Like, who is the leader? What was the leader of your life? Like, what did you belong to? You know, like we dig up bones, we say, well, this person, they're from the Aztecs, or they're from the Egyptian, they were an Egyptian, or they're from this part of the world because of this. And there's different things that we can find in, maybe we found like a letter with, their whatever was left of their body, or whatever we found. What would people find besides you? What would people find, even if, say, it was recent, if people came and they interviewed your friends? You know how, like, sometimes people pass away and it's unfortunate in their young ages or whatever. People, they go in around and they ask what they were about, and they can describe different things they were active in. And sometimes, honestly, whenever a kid who's caught up in the wrong lifestyle, that happens, you see the people sort of like, they're like, oh, they were a very good person, but they really, there's not a whole lot they can really say about them. Like, they had a good heart, but the things they were doing in this world were bad, and might even led up to their death. So, belonging. And this month, we're getting ready to go back to school, so you're going to hear a lot about that, because you really need to get focused on who do you belong to. What do you belong to? Because when you belong to something, I was thinking back throughout this week as I was thinking about this sermon, I was thinking about throughout high school, and I tried to belong so bad. I mean, like, everything I did was a sense of, like, wanting to belong to something and be a part of something. I had no, like, self-image, and the self-image I did have was bad, so it wasn't a good one. And I just seen things such in a negative light, so I wanted to belong. Like, being around people made me feel good. So when I played sports, they became my life. And, anytime you get a jersey, this jersey, putting this on was sort of funny because I played the 1 year I played, we actually got new jerseys. We were a poor football team, but the 1 year we got new jerseys like this, and we were Southside Steelers, Croton Southside Steelers. And we were so proud. We had new jerseys, new helmets, new pads, and it was like, that completed me. I remember every Friday, our games were on Saturdays, so we'd wear our shirts, and there was people right in our own school. It wasn't like Riverside where you play like Elwood, go to school together. We played each other. Newcastle was a bigger school, so we played Southside, played Eastside, and Westside played North Hill. So there was competition right inside the school. So you wore your jersey, another person had their jersey on, and you were playing them that week. It was a competition, but you belonged. Like, you belonged to Southside. How many games you won, and how hard you guys were, if you were the hardest hitters, or whatever reputation you carried along, that backed up what you belonged to. As I walked up, we were known as, like, we were a hard-hitting, like, dirty football team. So, like, we had a lot of bragging rights. So as we said, well, we belonged, it was something, when I wore that jersey on Fridays, I was proud. It was something that made me feel good inside. But it took a lot of my life up. George can tell you practice so much playing football. I mean, you're practicing through the summer, you're practicing on hot days, you're practicing on rainy days. If you pick up any paper, there's at least one death you'll read about if you only read a paper randomly about a football player during a camp. Because they push them players so hard, they push them, and so many things they do to try to get them. But them players, they won't give up because they belong to that football team, and there's a pride that's rising up. And usually, anyone who played sports, especially football, it's big, is that you lose like 10% of your team usually from the first few days. They get cut, or in the first week, they're gone. Them are the ones that don't really belong to that team. The rest who stay, the rest of the season, they're in it. And I was thinking about that as Christians. Are we that dedicated? Or is this just a Sunday night type thing? Is this a Wednesday night thing? Is this just whenever we feel like being Christians? Is it just something that we talk about and we do, but our lifestyles don't lead it? Like for me, like if I would have practiced all 5 days of the week, then game time come and not played. As Christians, we do that. We do these rituals here. We do the worship. We listen to me blabber on. We listen to Matt talk. We do read and save. We come to these events. We get fired up at a choir to fire. We say we belong. But then when come game time is when you can win somebody to Christ. Game time is when you're in your schools and you can be a light and you can shine on somebody. We buckle and we quit. So we can really tell when we belong is come game time. You're excited about playing. Going to school, you're excited because you can shine in the light. And the thing is, some people say, well, that's crazy. But you know what? Tonight I want to show you a few Bible scriptures. I'm not going to go to many because I just want to focus on a few. That the Bible calls us aliens. The Bible calls us foreigners. This is not nothing new. We're called to be different. Christine, if you want to put the first verse up there. I think I have 1 Peter up there. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, you are foreigners and aliens here. So I warn you to keep away from evil desires because they fight against your very souls." This scripture here, dear brothers and sisters, is talking to all of us. We're foreigners and aliens here. If you're a foreigner and alien somewhere, do you start adapting to the world? Only if you want to stay here, right? If you want to stay here. How many people want to stay here? You got your answer? You want to stay on this earth? Do you want to? I mean, some people do. No, you want to stay here on this earth. I'm sorry, rephrase that. So who wants to stay on this earth? Because when Paul was saying this, he was saying the earth. He was saying here, like in general. How many people want to stay here? Like the rapture happening right now, how many people would say, I'm just not ready yet. Like, I got things to do. You know what I've noticed, and this is nothing wrong because we all have this. We all have like this mindset. You know, like we want things in life. Like, you know, people want families, people want kids, people want to get married, people want to have a good job. And people, maybe you just want to go to like Italy. Maybe you have goals in your mind that before Christ comes back, you want to do these things. And those things are good. But what I see in a lot of people, and even sometimes myself, if I start focusing too much on those things, like things I want to do before Christ comes back, my mindset gets focused on here and now. It gets focused on a worldly mindset, and I lose sight of the heavenly kingdom that I came from. You know, it's like, remember the movie Coneheads? You know, they came down on this earth, you know, and they started adapting to the world to blend in. We're not called to do that. We're not called to blend in here. We're set out. We're called to be different. We're called to be aliens and foreigners. So when people look at you weird and they say, "Man, what are you doing?" Or, "Sister, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be doing this and doing that." I say, "Nah, I'm not of this world." That's why it's cool to be different. You know, Christians, sometimes we try so hard to fit in, but God called us to be different. He's called each and every one of us to be individuals and be different in whatever we do in our life. But we try to fit in and conform to this world so much. Now, if you want to stay in this world, then keep doing that.